the screen in a moment. I'm sharing my screen. There it is. Do you see it now? Can you see now the presentation, Training of Trainers? Very good. So we have our second session. We're going to be looking now at some of the elements of the Moodle features that are part of the setup and the responsibilities as a trainer. It's important that you understand some of these features, especially before you begin a course. We're also going to look at the learning guide and the grading scale, how the grading is structured in the course. I'm going to show you what is the grading scale that we have defined for the course, and also how it works behind the scenes, and every time you mark a forum or an exercise, how that works for the student. We're also going to look today at editing and creating new forums. That is the element that you can also have as the elements of flexibility as you start managing the course. We'll look then at the case study, the material that we worked very hard trying to get a better sense of the course by placing some context and having a case study based on a project. The activity for today and for tomorrow will be that you read the case study, become familiar with the content. Very good. We're going to look now at the course administration. We're going to look how to edit some of the basic settings, the course settings, the course completion. We're going to look at users, reports, and grades. I'm going to take you now to the site where I can see now the course. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so that you can see it there. Okay, can you see it? We have the course. And you're going to look at, on the left side, it's your navigation. That is the area where you have most of the content of the course. That is also available to anybody who's a student on the course. Below that is the administration. That is only visible to people who have the role of a trainer or a manager. Students have a very limited view of administration, only to look at their grades. But you can see here the following elements: editing, edit settings, course completion, the list of users, filters, reports, and grades. What is below, you don't need to worry about it because we're not using it. That is some of the features that the technical support people will help you. The first one is the turn editing on that I already showed you yesterday, that allows you to activate or show the content that you have in the course. Next to each one of these titles, you see these icons that have been activated. The first one is when you want to edit the title. You click on it and you can make any edits to the message. You press enter. Yes. Oh yes, please. Make sure that you turn on, you put your microphone in mute. That way we don't hear the background noise. Excellent, thank you very much. Good. Okay, let's go back. Those icons that you see next to each message basically tells you basic things you can do. The first one is you edit the title, so I can click on it and I can make any changes in case you need to make any changes. The next one is an arrow that I use it to move things around. It's like an indent feature, so I can click on it and now it moves to the right or moves to the left. Sometimes I need to structure the way I have information in the course. When I add a forum that's going to be under a forum or an activity under an activity, I can use that. The other one is the one that it's used to move, so I can move things around. I can place it anywhere I want it or put it back. The other one is the update. That will bring me the screen on the features of that specific activity. So once I can see that, now I can edit that forum. I can edit some of the concepts, some of the features that I have, the title on that forum. But for the time being, we're not going to concentrate on editing the forum at this moment, just to make sure that you have an understanding of the basics. The other item that is important for you is that if you want to duplicate that activity, you click on that once and it will make a copy of the same activity in case you need to duplicate a forum. We'll see some of that if you have, we're going to see that a little bit tomorrow or Thursday, how we can use that feature to create new activities or forums in the course in case you need something and you don't need to recreate everything from scratch. So now I duplicated that forum, the train of trainers, and the next icon is to delete it. Give me a message, click OK, and I delete it. The next one that looks like an eye is the one that I used to hide. So now nobody will see it. And I'm gonna go back and try to add Patricia. Okay, Patricia's back now. Okay. And that's the feature in which I can show or hide any of the activities or blocks of information. The next ones, you don't need to worry. It's when you're trying to add groups to a specific forum. We mentioned yesterday that we can organize people in groups and have a forum assigned to a group that will be in turn assigned to a teacher. That is one of the features that is available. And the next one is assigning roles in terms of either students or teachers. Once you are complete with all of those features, you can then turn it off and the course and the content will be ready. It takes a little while to update. Here it is. Now it's available. The next one in your course administration is Edit Settings. So you click on Edit Settings, and that is the feature that governs or manages the entire course. Two things are important there: the name and the short name of the course, and the course start date. So let's, for example, say that you requested a course or the course being planned. They created a copy of the course. It's available now in the system. You have access, and for whatever reason, they decided to postpone the course for a week. So this is where you will need to make those changes. So you click on Calendar, and you pick the time you need for that course, whatever it is. Try always to start on a Monday. And depending on where you click on it, the new course will have that date. You can add, in the new version, we're going to add a small summary of the course, which will be visible for everybody who accessed the online course. That will be the most basic changes you need to make on the course. Now, if you go down screen, when you're going to see there are other elements of the features of course administration. It is a weekly format. That's the only one you need to worry about. The number of sections means the number of weeks that we'll have on the course. Everything else, then files and upload, that could be another feature that you might need to change. It is right now at 100 megabytes. That is the maximum size of a file that a student can upload to the course. And 100 megabytes, it's pretty good for documents that people are going to be uploading. But if anybody has a problem with that and you don't know what is happening, this is the feature that you will need to increase to 900 megabytes in case somebody is uploading a large document. But I don't suspect that's going to be the case. Completion tracking means that the system has a feature that tracks whenever a student completes an action in the course. We're going to see that a little bit later in the next settings, but it's a feature that once we activate it, you're going to be able to see a report that helps you see which students are doing their work and which ones are behind or ahead. We don't allow guest access to the course, but in case you need to do it, you can put it to yes, and you can add a password. That way, anybody who looks at the course and wants to look at the site just by receiving the password, they will be able to log in. But as a guest, they will not have any rights to post questions or answers to the forums. They will be able to see the conversations. They will be like a guest invited to look at the course, but not being able to make any comments or participate or get any grading. So that is one feature that you might consider in times whenever there is a need for people to look at the course, have an idea, and then they make a decision later. But for the time being, we're not allowing a guest. The idea is that we have people who can look at the course and complete it. Groups is that when you want to organize your course by groups, you will need to create two types of groups: separate groups or visible groups. Separate groups don't see each other, and visible groups, they can see each other. You can force it by clicking yes or no. And the idea is that once you create this feature, then all your students, you're going to have to organize them into different groups. This is good when you have a very large class, maybe 40 people, and you need to organize them maybe groups of 10 or two groups of 20 and assign a facilitator, a trainer to each group. That is one option, but my recommendation is at this moment, don't use groups. Try to limit the number of students to 20 to 25 people per class. That will make it easier. Next is the role naming. These are the general standards or setups that you have in the site for different words that the system is using. If you want to change anything like teacher, I can change it to facilitator. That way, anytime people will see my role, will only look at that information. So I can save those changes. The only change I did right now is to change the name to facilitator. And that way we can look at the course again. And when I click on participants, and we're going to also keep track of who completed their homework yesterday. So we see that almost everybody was able to log in. Patricia, you're excused because you missed the session. Nicole might need to spend some time between today and tomorrow just to get updated in what is happening on our site. But everybody else seems to have it. And that's a feature that you have last access, and you can click on that title and it will organize your information by most recent and the person who's missed the most late. So you can use this in your course to contact these people and tell them to let them know that the course has started, that it's time for them to join in. If they have any problems, that they should contact you or inform you, because you don't want them to be delayed and joining the course. So that is one of the features that you have. You can also send them a message, add a note or a common note that you want on that. Very good. Let's go now to another element of our course settings, and that is users. And let me go back. Let's look at course completion. Yeah, we mentioned that. Now, course completion is a feature that helps you organize information based on what is the required activity that a student must complete. So here are all the activities that we organized and we created in the course, from the welcome message to the different forums. Notice that I marked with a tick the activities for the forums and the exercises. That means those are the activities that the student must complete in order to complete the course successfully. So the system's going to be tracking who completed that or who didn't. The other activities are not mandatory. They can read them. You don't need to track them, and there is no need to monitor at that level of detail. And the final one will be the case study exercise. So you have the activities on the forums, the exercises, and the case study. The other element that we have in the course, everything remains the same from the standard, is the required course grade. And you start grading people on their participation in the forums and the exercises, they're going to start adding up values. This number means that they have to get a 70% mark out of 100 in order to complete the course successfully. And that is linked to the automatic certification that they will receive from the system. The system looks at this number and says, if that student got a 70 or above, then it will award them the certificate and people can download it. If they don't, they will need to go back and complete whatever is missing in their course. That is the two major elements that we have in the course completion. Now, let me go back and I'll show you how it looks like when you are in the course and you want to see the course completion report. Because I don't have any information from the students taking the courses, I'm gonna go back to my previous course. I'm gonna click on course completion. This is the course we had last year, so we have some data from the students. So you're gonna be able to see that report. Here it is. You can see the information that basically tells us the names of the people, the activities that I mark for them to be mandatory, the forums, the exercises, and the final case study. The final requirements also the grading, 70% required. So you can see that how the system is tracking, and this is another tool that you can use to monitor the progress of the students during the first week of the course. So you can start looking at who is completing the work, who is behind, who is not doing their job, or who needs to do a little bit more of work. That is one of the tools that is available in the system, and the other one will be the grading that we'll see a little bit later, that will help you monitor and then help people to get connected back to the course, to complete their activities on time. So we have that. Now, the next one that we look is the users. So in the users, you will be able to see a list of all the enrolled users in your course. You have two ways to look at that. The first one, it was the course participants that I showed you before. That is one way. The other one is that will show you the complete list of all the students, all the enrolled students, and you can assign them here roles. You can delete them or remove them from the course or add them to the course. So in this case, I can look at the different people that we have in the system. If I click here on Nicole at the X and the enrollment methods, I can unenroll her from this course. So I'm going to do that because she hasn't done any activities on this course, and I click on that. The system will tell me that you want to unenroll this student. Do you want to unenroll the user Nicole from the course? I said yes. We continue. Now she's no longer enrolled in the course. If I want to add, see, we don't have Nicole anymore. If I want to add a student to the course, I go to enroll users. I click on that, and then I can find Nicole Winter. I find her. I click on the button that says enroll, finish enrolling, and now we have Nicole back into the system. It's refreshing the screen, and there she is. So she's back. Notice that when I enroll her, her role was as a student. I can change that. I can go into this icon that says assign roles. I click on it. I find the two roles that are available. One is non-editing teacher. I click on it, and then I can unassign her the role as a student. I remove that, and now she is just a non-editing teacher in the course. She has that role. She will have access to that information. She's not going to be graded now by the system. If she was a student, the system will start tracking her activities and start grading her activities in the course. So that is, in general, the basic elements that you have for managing the users, all the students in the course. Remember that most of this work will be done by the help desk. When they set up the course, they will send invitations, people will register, will have access, they will be given a password for the course, and they will have access to it. But during the course or during the first week, there might be somebody who's joining a little bit late, or there is a problem with the registration, and maybe help desk is a little bit too busy and you need to have that person. Well, you know now how to enroll users, find them in the system, and add them. Ideally, most of PAHO staff will be already in the system, so you'll have most of the staff available on that. If you're enrolling a student and it's not in the system, that is a responsibility of the help desk. They need to create that account in the system so you can enroll them into this course. That's a difference. Having a student with access to the site, to the Moodle system, they have to create an account, and once you create an account, they need to be assigned to a course or enroll in a course. As a trainer, as a facilitator in the course, your only chances, your only options are to enroll users that are already in the system. Any questions or comments so far? Very good, thank you. Now let's go back to reports, and I'm going to go back to my other screen. We saw the course completion, which is a way to start tracking people. The other one is grades. I'm going to just show you a little bit. We're going to look in more detail a little bit later. The grades also give you the same structure, but with information about the grades they are getting on each one of the activities. I'm looking at the old course right now, and this is the screen where I can see the user report. This is the basic, the 5 activities that are being graded by the system. To your right, there is a menu where you can choose the user from which you want to see the grades. So you find the user you want. I'm going to pick Maria, and the system will use that information from Maria and populate this table with her grades. It takes a little bit while, and this is the same information that the student will see in the course, so you have access to the same information. The activities and the discussions with the grades, we're using the star symbol. We'll discuss that tomorrow when we work on some of the exercises. The 2 activities with their grades and the feedback they receive from the instructor. The case study analysis, the grade, and the final grade that they got in the course. So you can look at any student, or you can create your graded report for everybody in the class. It will show you a table with the values for each one of those activities that are. So I can see the whole class, I can see all the activities. I need to scroll down and then move all the way to look the grades that I have in the system. So that is one of the options that you have that allows you to look at all your users, the grades they are, the status where they are in the site. Let's look now at other type of reports. I'm gonna go back. And I have now logs. The logs are information that is coming from the system that tells me about the different activities of the course, because I need to look at a very previous time when we had some training happening. This is a way to look at what are the activities that are happening on a specific time or date. If you want to see who went into the site, so you have the name of the person, the activity they did, the type of information in terms of what they were doing. Like in the first case, we see that Chiara was able to look at the forum view discussions, looking at the logical framework, or and a little bit later she looked at activity. So here's a log. The system is keeping track of every activity, every action you have in the course, there is a log. So you can look at all that information depending on whatever day you are. If you're starting a day, you can more or less have an idea of how people are using the system. You can see all the information that happened on a Thursday, all the actions. You can look even by activities. Like I want to look at the discussion forum, 2.4, all participants. You get those logs and gives you an idea about the activities that are happening on a specific day for a specific activity in the course. So you can see the many times that people are logging in, and that's also an indication of people who are engaged in the system. You can see Rafael was very engaged, was looking at the discussions, coming back and forth, coming back. Some other people, maybe they log in a couple of times, but it gives you an idea of the flow of the information when they log in, and gives you an idea also as a background information when you are grading their work in the course. So that's a tool that is available to you. The other one is the activity report. In which tells you by module. The first ones are the pre-course activities, the second one's the week 1, week 2, the number of views that each one of the activities had. So in this case, activity 1.4 discussion forum had 652 views during the time of the course. And you can use that also as a way to track how they are moving and if there are any differences between one activity or the another activity. But it's a tool to help you monitor the performance of the course, how they are doing, and when you might find that certain things maybe are happening. Like in this case, the coaching forum is being visited only 19 times, which is expected because it's not an activity that is required. The case study analysis was visited 162, which is an exercise, which is similar to the other two exercises that had 190, 98 visits. The discussion forums, which are the ones that are mandatory, are the ones that have a lot of visits. The first one had more visits than the second one, for example. That gives you an idea of the traffic between those different activities, and it's a way to monitor the progress on the course. Course participation is another report. You can look at based on the different activities. Let me look at a forum. 1.4, I can look back. I'm gonna click 5 months. Show only student actions, views, and posts, go. So I can look at what happens at specific discussion forum. We're looking at the old course, so this is an old information, but just to get an idea what it looks. So you can see the reports for all the 16 students on that activity on the discussion forum. You can see the actions from each one of them in terms of the activities that they did, how many times they log in. You can see Maggie was 44 times there, Brenda, Florencia, 36, 29, Chiare, 71 times, so she visited a lot of the site. Other people, they didn't complete. And what you can do sometimes is with this, is when you're monitoring a forum, you can click on those people who are maybe late or haven't activated, and you can send them a message. You click on that, there will be a screen that will show you the option to write us a short message to let them know, hey, we're having the forum is starting to get busy. It's a good time for you to join us. Make sure that you have the time to answer the questions and post some of the answers to you. And that's a way also to engage people by identifying those who are maybe a little bit late. So this will be the message body for that text. You can then write your message, preview it, click send, and those people will receive the message of the reminder to join you in the course. So that's another way that you have available to look at the course, do some monitoring on the performance of the students, and see who is kind of a little bit behind or is not or participating as they are required to participate during that week. The next report is activity completion. It takes a little bit of time, but we're gonna get there. And again, it tells you the same thing that we saw on the other one, but this one looks at all the activities. And you're gonna notice one thing in this grid. They are those squares that have a solid line and the squares that have a dotted line. The difference is that the solid lines are those activities that are not mandatory and that the student can check them themselves. When you go back to the course and when you look at, I'm going to take you back to the main page, and you're going to see that next to each activity there is that little box. You see this little box here? As a student, I can mark it myself saying, yes, I read that, and I can click on it. The system will mark it. But when I look at one that is marked with a dotted line, if I click it, it will not work. It will only be clicked when I complete the activity on that task. In this case, the discussion forum. So I have to go into the discussion forum, post my answer, comment, complete it. I go back, and then the system will automatically mark this as completed. So that is what you see here in this report. Some people were able to mark it. For them, it's a good reminder. It's a way of making sure that they are completing all the activities, and that is a reminder that we send at the beginning of the course, that they can use this feature as a way to keep track of the activities that they have completed. And those activities that need to be marked because they either need an activity or an action or a grade provided by the instructor are the ones that are marked in dotted lines, and they will be activated once activity is completed or the instructor provides them a grade. So this is another view that helps you see how people are making a progress on the course, what activities have they missed or are missing in the course that are important, and they might be required for them to obtain a grade. So that is the other tool that you have available that will help you monitor the progress of the users using the features that we have on the course. And that's another idea why sometimes it's a good idea to have a small size course of 20 people, because you don't want to have like 40 people in this page and trying to monitor all of that. It becomes very, very time consuming. So keeping a small size of teams working in the course, 20 people, it's an ideal size. The final report is just the general statistics that you can use. Sometimes you can use that for elements like providing a report at the end of the course where you can see all the charts. Right now it's showing me the period that we had from November until March today, but it just gives me some traffic graphics, and I can choose depending on the activities. So I can look at the students. If we were in the course right now and the course is happening, you will only see the time of your period, but you can look back even years. That's what you have in the system. I don't know why you would have years, but if you're looking at for a course for the last 2 or 3 weeks, which is what you will use, that is the kind of report that you can also look at in terms of views, people who log into the system and they see, and the number of posts when somebody posts a comment on a forum. You can also use it to look at any other courses that you have been assigned. So I can even look at that information for all activities for another course, and let's see what happens. Because we have a course we don't have any data on that one, but that's okay. Let's go back to the main page and we'll see now grades. Now, in your grades, there are two things that we need to look. The first one is, in the presentation, I have this screenshot that comes from the learning guide. In that document, the students will be able to see this chart that tells them those activities that contribute to the final grade and the estimated effort in hours per week that they need to invest. Here we see activities on week 1, week 2, and at the end of the course. Activities, the discussion forum, and the exercise 1 receive a percentage of the grade. The discussion forums have 25% of the grade and the exercise 1 has 15%. The idea that we give more weight to discussion forums is that people need to understand that that is the key element of the learning process on an online system. So their participation, if they contribute, has a bigger chance to get a better grade when they participate in the discussion forum. The exercises and individual work, they only get a 15%. Both of them will be 30% of the grade. And the final case study is also at 20% of the grade. Not only do they need to get a minimum of 70 points, but they also need to complete all those activities. So that is the requirement of the course. So they know this information at the beginning of the course. This is set up in the system in the following way. So when we look at the reports, when we look at information on the system, I'm going to look at the categories that we have for each one of those activities by clicking on Simple View in my graded report. And I will see a table with all the activities that are going to be graded by the system. So here I have my activity discussion forum 1, second forum, first exercise, second exercise, and the case study. And this is where I place the weight for each one of these activities. They all need to add up to 100. So if for any reason in the future the organization or the teams decide to make any changes to this grade, this is where you will need to make those changes. And that will affect only this course. So you can put 30% or 10%, they need to add to 100. We'll keep it this way for the first courses. That is what we used in the previous one. And so far seems to be a good balance in terms of the amount of work they need to do and how we're going to be grading the different people in the courses. So that is the tool that you have, how you manage that information. That is as far as you will need to know in terms of how the system is grading it. You can even make changes to those grades, but because we're not going to be changing a lot of that, I don't recommend you spend any time on doing that. But the system has a lot of that information in terms of setting up. Notice that all of that is using the default settings of the system. So just leave it like that. You don't need to change it in terms of how you want it. One of the things that in the future you might be interested is in the user reports, how these grades are being shown. For example, you might want to show people the rank, where they are ranked in the course. And when they run the report, they see they're going to be ranked number 19 out of 20 or number 1 out of 20. That is what this setup will show, hide or show. Right now it's set up as hidden, so they will not know what is the ranking in the school. Or show the percentage, which the description says it's about the percentage and the value for each grade. So remember that 25%, 15% that we have, that is what will show them. But for the time being, we'll just keep it as hidden and keep it the default. So most of these settings, you don't need to change them. In the future, if there is a need to change those percentages on the grade, that is where you will make the changes. Very good. Let's go back and now see the next one. We saw that completion report, so we have an idea of how to use that as a way to track the progress of each student, and then use that also that tool to send them a message or contact them. You have their email address. You can also paste and copy that information and send them a personal message if you see somebody is a little bit behind on the course. We're going to look now at the administration of the forums. We'll have some exercises for that tomorrow. We'll look at how we're going to edit some of that, the description, the type of forum, the size of the attachments, the type of subscription, ratings, the access to the forums, and the completion mark. Let me go back to the course. So when I go back to the course and I click on one of the forums, there are some activities or administrations or features that I can use. Let me go to week 1, the discussion forum 1.4. We're looking at the old course right now. This is where the forum will have 3 discussion topics. Each topic can be managed by a facilitator. That's what we discussed yesterday, or we only have one forum managed by one facilitator. When you're in this window and you go down, you're going to see that administration now has the forum administration. And when you click on edit settings, you will have a page that will show you how the settings for that specific forum. The most important one that you have is the forum type. The previous course we had a standard forum for general use. That meant that anybody could see the answers when they log into the course. But when you change it, and we change now into the new course, in the new version, on the Q&A forum, that means that you're not going to be able, a student will not going to be able to see the answers from other students until they post their solutions or their answers in the forum. I'm going to click expand all to show all the other elements that you have. Here is the attachments and word count also. That is a feature that if you want to increase the size of the attachments, in many cases people may want to share documents in the discussion forums, or you want to share something. That is something that I do most of the times during the conversations in the discussion forums. I say, I understand what you're saying. I like the solutions. Here is a document or an article that discusses that element. So I attach that document. If I have limits on the size of the documents, I can go back here and make those changes. Most of the time, the standard is 500 kilobytes, which is regular, maybe a 5-page Word document with a couple of pictures, or a PDF document. But if somebody has a problem, this is where you can go and make those changes and increase the size. That means the size of the attachment can be a little bit bigger. So just for the exercise, I can change it to 1 megabyte. You can also change the maximum number of attachments. Maybe I can attach 2 or 3 documents. Right now, we can put at 9. You can display the word count of your attachment. You don't need that. The next one is the subscription and tracking. That means that every time when you are in a forum and you post an answer, the system will track activities on that forum and will send you a daily summary of the activities for that forum. The idea behind that is that as a student, I can then get a message from the system that tells me that there are new posts or new answers in the forum that I might be interested. I can log in. And as a facilitator, it also gives information about every time somebody posts that information. Auto subscription means that everybody is going to be subscribed the moment they do it. Optional means that people have the option to click a small button next to the forum where they can continue the subscription or not. Forced means that they cannot change that. They are forced and they will receive that message, and every time somebody posts an information, they will get a summary of that post messages from the system. It will send them by email. Read tracking is the option. In the new course, I set it up on. What it does is that every time somebody posts a message and I go back to the course, in the course system, when I look at the screens next to the forum, next to this page, there will be a message that will say 5 new messages or 4 new messages. That is also a feature that you can have, and will have it in the new course, to remind people when they log into the course to see where is activity happening. So they can look at the discussion one, there might be 3 new messages, and discussion forum, there might be 2 new messages. Even within the discussion forums, if you have 2 different messages, you can also see that message. The idea again is to remind people that something new is happening, so there's new information, new answers, and because they might be interested, it's a way to also to drive them into the discussion to see what is happening, what discussion, so they can be part of the conversations. So that is the things that you need to do. Grading is another way that we have in this system. They are different scales. The one we're using is called the Forum Star Scale Grade. That means that your forums are going to be graded with 5 stars, meaning it's an excellent work, to 1 star, meaning that you need to do it again. We'll explain that tomorrow when we're working on the exercises and the difference. It's much easier than the regular scale that the standard courses sometimes uses, which is 1 to 100, because it's difficult to make a decision between what is a 70 and a 71. How do you grade that? Tomorrow I'll show you the rubrics that we're going to use to help you grade the forums, and also the rubrics to help you grade the exercises. But to help you facilitate every time you're grading the work of a student, you will have that option to grade them in a 5-star scale, which is much easier to make a decision. And the descriptions that we have in the forum also explain what each one of those ranges means. Everything else is being set up in a way that is standard. You don't need to change anything else in terms of the settings, access, and activity completion. Look at the last one, the activity completion. It is set and marked that it requires minimum of 2 posts for this activity to be marked as completed. And I can also, and in the new course, I added that the student must receive a grade to complete this activity. So you will see those 2 activity completion requirements before the system marks this activity as complete for the student. One, they need to post 2 replies, one to the questions that you post on the forum, and the second one, a reply to somebody else's comments as a way to engage in more conversations. Once they do that, you will also going to be grading that participation. We'll see that tomorrow. And once those 2 conditions are met, then the system will mark that activity as complete, and they will then be added to the grade. That is basically the basic system that we have for this for the forum administration. So I'm going to click cancel just in case I didn't mess it up with an old course, and we can then go back. When I look at the discussion forums, I was mentioning about the grades, and I think you all are familiar with that. That is the menu, the pull-down menu that shows you the 5 grades that are available. In the course, you have the option also to give some of those rights to students, so they can also rate the contributions they make on all the classmates. And that's another good way for people to start engaged. If they see something that is very nice and say, oh, that's a good comment or a good answer or a good suggestions, they can also go and mark it with a star 5 or 4. That's one of the messages that I sent at the beginning of the course. That is an option available to do it for all of them. It's also a way for them to feel appreciated when they do a good job in the course and they put a very nice answer or a good comment when their classmates and colleagues say, yeah, I like that. So it's kind of giving them a thumbs up for their work. Let me see my presentation. So now we completed our forum administration. Now, in the new course, we have a case study. It's a folder that's available in the course. We're going to see that in a few moments. It's information based on a real project, so it's a real PAHO project, it's a project about health. The information has been modified a little bit to accommodate some of the exercises that we need to make them. The document was a very large project proposal document. We had all of the information. We tried to summarize it to make it easy to be read while we're doing that online on a time period of 2 weeks or 3 weeks in the course. The case study includes a description of the situation, the problem, the solution. It has a log frame a problem tree. It describes a basic budget. It includes a project concept form, which will be the basis for the final case study exercise. And all of that information, the case study, will be the context that will be used for all the forums, the weekly exercises, and the final exercise. So it's much easier for people to respond to a question in the forum when they have a context in which they can then analyze the information and then supply their answer based on what they have learned in the course, the presentations and the textbooks available to them and the discussions. Then it's much easier to look at that information and say, this is the solution based on that problem, or here's the proposed idea to solve that situation. So the case study, it was a recommendation that came from the feedback we had from the pilot. It was very well received. We worked very hard on getting that information. It will be available in the next course. And that is basically part of the homework that you have now. To read the case study, become familiar with its content so you understand a little bit of the context of what we are discussing it, and then practice the use of the model reports. So look at the course completion, look at the logs, activity report, course participation, and activity completion. You have access to both courses. So when you go back to the course, if you log in, you have access to the old course that was done in last year in November. So that's a place where you can practice. Now you have access as a co-facilitator or a co-trainer, meaning you have access to those reports, so you can look at the administration, click on the reports, and practice and look at that information. On the new course, there is no data, so we don't have any information. I have the Train of Trainers forum. That is the one I'm using. And Patricia, this is where I placed the recording for the session on yesterday. So you can click on Monday. I'm going to create another one for Tuesday after we complete the session. And on Monday, that's where I posted the information on that recording. So I placed it on YouTube. It's my account on YouTube. So you can paste and copy that and you'll be able to see the recording. It's 1 hour full of fun and entertainment, and I know you're going to enjoy it. We also have the manual for the Moodle guide. This is a manual that is available also in the virtual campus. That is the trainers or the teachers manual. Use it as a reference. It's a very large document. It goes into much more detail than what I did today. But if you want to remember something, they have a good index and you can find information, especially on the areas of forums, if you want to know a little bit more about that. So that will be your reference for this course. Let me go back to show you where we have the case study so that you can complete your assignment for today. Right on the course page, here's the folder for the case study. So you click on that and you'll see the four documents. The case study project concept guidelines, which is the one that we will use for the case study final exercise, the actual case study, the logical framework, and the problem tree. And I think I have them here on my PDF. Yes. Here's the case study project concept. Carolina and Dila have worked very hard on making sure that all of this information is now complete. So that is an excellent format to help people create a project concept. The next document is the logical framework that was taken from that project. So gives an idea of the components of the framework, the indicators and the assumptions for each one of these elements. The other document is the problem tree that describes the main problem of the project, the causes for that problem, and the effects of that. I'm still working. This is a work in progress, and I need to create one that will show you the objectives tree, which is the solution for this problem, and that is part of the design components that are required to develop the log frame. The last one is the case study text. That is the information on the description of the case study. It gives information about the problem, the effects of that problem, the causes, that is the summary, and from the problem tree. We also have information about the context, the solution, what is the goal of the project, information about the risks of the project, information about constraints that the project team will face, some of the key assumptions that were identified at the beginning of the project, the project structure, the steering committee, the governance structure of the project, the specific committees that are going to be supporting also in the governance of the project, information about the donor agency, information about headquarters and responsibilities, and at the end we have a diagram that describes the whole structure, some of the key actors of this project, and the budget. So that is information that you will have and all the students will have that will help them get the context in order to work on the different exercises and the forum discussions. That is the session for today. If anybody has a question, a comment, this will be the moment to share your questions, comments. Very good. Very good. Excellent. So we'll meet tomorrow. I'm recording the session. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to post the video for those who couldn't make it. It will be available. Your assignment for today, don't forget to become familiar with the case study and practice some of those Moodle reports. Tomorrow, it's an exciting day, tomorrow and Thursday, because we're going to be looking at weeks 1 and week 2 of the activities. That's where we're going to practice about how we grade forums, how we grade exercises. I'm going to share with you the rubrics that we have available for that will help you and guide in that process. That's it for me. Thank you very much once again for your attention. If there is anything else, I think we are making a good timing, and we are almost an hour closing to the hour. Thank you very much. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hasta mañana. Chao, chao, gracias.